Hey my friend, welcome to this video here where I'm really excited to share with you an important and powerful spiritual concept that is going to help you gain a much more deeper understanding of the full spectrum of spirituality. It's going to help you gain a much deeper understanding of... Sorry, there's a car driving by, it distracted me a little bit. So this video is going to help you gain a deeper understanding of the full spectrum of spiritual teachings. And it's going to help you so that your understanding of spirituality and of life in general is not so one-sided or one-dimensional. Because oftentimes when we first learn about spirituality, or we have all of these preconceptions about what a spiritual person should be, how they should stand, how they should dress, how they should act, they should be kind and nice and so forth. What this does is, this is good for the beginning of the spiritual path when we're trying to become a better person, more kind, more loving, more present, better fathers, better mothers, better brothers and sisters to our family. So in the beginning, spirituality is presented by the teachers in public as a spiritual teacher. What we do is, and this is a whole tradition, I'm going to talk about Buddhism and how this is done. So the story goes that the Buddha, when he would teach in public to the common people, he would present a certain side of spirituality. The side that is very non-controversial, very easy to digest, where it's impossible to disagree with. So the Buddha, when he would talk to carpenters and bakers and chefs and soldiers and just regular people, he would talk about the classic Buddhist stuff. So he would talk about the Four Noble Truths, how there's a lot of suffering in life, and this, in order to overcome this suffering, there is a path that involves becoming more mindful, becoming more present in the moment, being more aware of your body, of your breathing, the way you stand, the way you walk, being more self-reflective, and also taking on certain trainings like not killing insects or not killing anything, being more gentle, not stealing, not saying mean things to people, not being sexually mischievous, or not involving in sexual misconduct, not getting drunk, and so forth. Okay, so when we learn spirituality, this is what we're learning for the most part in the beginning, where most people, we have a picture of what a spiritual person should be like. They should be kind. They should be always loving, always a smile on their face, right? They should never get angry. They should never swear. They should never disagree with people and so forth. Okay, so this is very good, and this is true, actually. There's a lot of truth to this, and it's a very powerful teaching. It's especially important because when you're learning spirituality, the ego, right, which is you, it's all good, it's a little bit fragile, meaning that when we first come to the spiritual path, we have a lot of conceptions and preconceptions about life, a lot of cultural conditioning about life, that it actually wouldn't be very compassionate if the Buddha was like acting like some crazy madman, because then the teaching would be too controversial and it would be too easy to make fun of and to discredit. Okay, so that the Buddha could maintain his public credibility, he would present a very PG form of spirituality that is very nice, it's very marketable. Okay, so recently I created a video. It was called Real Spirituality versus Fake Spirituality. If you want, I'll link the video in the description. I've decided to unlist it because I was very proud of the video after I made it. It was a genuine spiritual teaching, is all I want to say. I was really coming from the right place in my heart. The problem is that what this video was, it was very shocking. It was very rude. It was very unapologetic and just kind of just mean. It was just like it was a crazy video, okay? And the point I was making in this video is that the truth of life is not always pretty. Spirituality is not always this like flowery thing with like butterflies and rainbows and sunshine. It's not always, sitting on the mountaintop with the sun shining and the Buddha, he's all smiles and everything's good and peachy all the time. The truth about life is that life can take any form. Life can be beautiful and sunny with rainbows and birds chirping and crickets and so forth. But life can also be anything. It can be fucked up. It can be retarded. Excuse my language, but I'm trying to prove my point here. Life can be fucked. It can be scary. It can be mean. It can be like a demon. Okay? So it's like when you have a wife, right? When you get, or you have a girlfriend, right? And you're a guy, the woman represents the feminine forms. She can take any form. Sometimes she's beautiful and nice. Other times she's crazy or she grows fangs, and wants to bite your head off, right? So the world can take any shape and any form. The true purpose of spirituality is actually to become unconditionally accepting and loving of all forms and of all emotions, of all states. So sometimes the spiritual teacher, what they'll do in some cases, in rare cases, is they'll just sort of like take off the nice mask and show you, their fangs. So there's actually a story. So the Buddha would give these public teachings, right? These were like the basic teachings. But for a small handful of followers, the more advanced followers who had more capacity to handle difficulty and controversy, they had more capacity, they had more merit, maybe they have more experience in meditation, or they're more devoted, they're very committed to the path, right? They have more experience. For these small handful of followers, the Buddha would give them secret teachings where he would take them up to a frozen mountaintop where there's nobody around, or he would take them to a putrid swamp, or in the heart of a volcano, right? Some sort of extreme landscape. And he would give them what is called a Tantra teaching or a Vajrayana teaching. So there's different vehicles of the Buddhist teaching. The Vajrayana is the most secretive and the most advanced and the most difficult to understand for the average person, because it is so controversial, and it's controversial on purpose. It's actually trying to almost step on your ego. So in the Vajrayana, the Tantra, there's images of deities who have wrathful faces, fangs, forked tongues. They're holding weapons, pitchforks and fire, flames. Some of the deities are literally stepping on the Hindu gods, Krishna, Vishnu, Shiva and so forth. The Buddhist deities literally fucking stepping on their heads, right? Just to show you, like, I don't give a fuck about your ego clingings, right? And your culture and your your attachments. I don't give a fuck about your attachments. I'm gonna destroy them. That's the purpose of the advanced teaching, the Vajrayana teaching. So what the Buddha would do in these extreme landscapes, when nobody else was around, he would take off his nice mask and he would show them his true form. His true form was like a 100-headed demon or something, or a dragon, right? He'd like blow fire and or he would have 100 hands, right, with weapons and fangs, and he would intentionally try to shock his audience with these advanced practitioners. And the reason why he would shock them is because he was trying to show them that the real Dharma, the true Dharma, is everything. Yeah, it's nice sometimes. Other times it's fucking terrifying. The truth is not always pleasant. The point of developing your capacity as a meditator or as a human being is to develop more ability to stay with what is. So recently, I was going for a walk, and I saw this butterfly on the floor. It was a beautiful monarch butterfly, but it was dead. And it was on the floor, and actually it was being eaten by ants. So the ants were eating its carcass, right? That didn't really faze me. I thought it was really interesting, actually, to see the way the ants were eating this dead carcass. But that's the truth of life. The truth of life is that when your body dies, the maggots are going to eat your eyes and your tongue. and it's not going to be pretty. That's the truth. That's the point of spirituality is to know the truth. See, many people are scared to even think of death. In certain households in the East, they don't even allow their kids to say the word death because they don't want death to enter into the home or something silly like that, okay? But the truth of reality is that it's not always pretty and that you're going to die. And yes, the maggots are going to eat your eyes and your tongue and so forth, and your face. Your skin's going to rot, So in order to develop more capacity as a spiritual person, you have to be able to accept all forms, not just the nice forms that are pleasant for you. Okay? Also the crazy forms, the wicked forms, the fucked up parts of yourself that you hate and you want to suppress and deny. All parts of reality and of life are valuable and deserving of neutral attention, of non-clinging awareness, of love. Gotta move off the road a little bit here. It's night. I'm scared of getting hit. Imagine I got hit by a car and then I uploaded the video anyways. that would be definitely not very pretty. So, long story short, that video that I made, the real spirituality versus fake spirituality, I decided to take it down because it's not. I'm not supposed to be like giving these Vajrayana teachings to the masses. What that means, all it means is that most people, like, what if some like random teenager like who has no experience with spirituality just like clicked on that video and me saying all these blasphemous things, right? I was swearing, telling people to go fuck themselves, and this sort of behavior, right? This is not something I want to publicize to the masses, okay? This is something that I'll talk about in private, right? In like a private setting, or with where I can only speak to more advanced practitioners, right? So I have to read the room sort of, and with the thing with the internet is that when I post a video, literally anyone could see it. My grandmother could see it, right? So I'm going to make sure that from now on, I'm going to be giving a little bit, of this sort of like, a little bit, what the heck is that sound? I'm going to be more careful. So all I wanted to say in this video is that there is a side of spirituality that you haven't seen because it's literally kept secret. The masters don't want to show you because you'll call them crazy and you'll think there's something wrong with them and you'll get, you know, hung from a cross or whatever. So what I wanted to say in this video is there is this whole side of spirituality that's not pretty, because life is not always pretty. That's the whole point. The whole point of spirituality is to develop unconditional love for all states of being within yourself and within others. So when I come on video, you know, and I'm being all crazy and talking about how my life purpose is to say the N-word and, you know, it's kind of like shock content sort of thing. I'm doing that from my heart, but I realize that I shouldn't be giving these sort of like Vajrayana teachings in a public forum. Okay, I should just be a little bit more cognizant of that. This is a public space, anyone can see my videos, so I'm gonna make sure that I'm a little bit more put together, right, when I give my talk, so that you know, the Buddha doesn't get a bad name, or you know, the spiritual group teachings don't get a bad name, or that even I don't get a bad name, you know, because it's not good that I, you know, discredit myself or make myself seem crazy, right? Even though it's good that I seem crazy and the right crowd needs me to seem crazy, because that's the truth of life. That this is called crazy wisdom. There's many spiritual teachers like Chogyam Trungpa, one of my favorites. I have many of his books on my book list. Sometimes he would show up on to his Dharma talks and he would be hammered, right? He'd like fall off his chair and he'd mumble the whole time. They'd have to like carry him off the stage. And then by the time they got him to the elevator, he would stand up straight and be like, "How was that? Was that good? Did you guys like that?" Right? So the spiritual teaching, as the practitioner becomes more advanced, the teaching becomes more nuts and more insane, because the point is to break your boundaries, to break your conditioning, to open your mind, to liberate you, to free you from clinging so you can be fully yourself. Chogyam Trungpa said, the first teaching is like the Hinayana, it's like taking the gorilla out of the jungle. The second teaching is like dressing the gorilla up nicely, making him behave well like a human being, giving him a nice suit and tie, making sure that he behaves well in a dignified sort of way. This is like the teachings of compassion and so forth. But then the third teaching, which is the Vajrayana, the final teaching, is like you bring the gorilla back to the jungle. So after you've taken him out of the jungle and you've trained him to be a good person, now you put him back in the jungle and you give him freedom to do whatever the fuck he wants. So it's easy to misconstrue the state before the gorilla has been brought out of the jungle to after the gorilla has gone back into the jungle after the training, right? So you know, this is why many people will say, "Oh, Chogyam Trungpa, he's getting drunk and he's having sex with women. That's not allowed," right? They think he's the gorilla before he left the jungle, but they don't understand that he actually went back into the jungle to complete the circle. You got to complete the journey. You know, in the hero's journey, the hero doesn't stay in the palace. He goes back home to bring the teaching back to the people. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say. In the future, I'm just gonna, you know, make sure that I give the more politically correct teachings. Sure, I'll still swear. I know you guys like when I swear and stuff. I'll still be a little crazy, you know, a little bit here and there. But I wanted to give context that I'm not gonna give these crazy, retarded, like fucked up like lectures like I did recently. Because I want to maintain a certain amount of credibility so that I can actually spread a higher quality messages to more people, that even if people don't have, like, you know, the capacity, you know, if they don't understand that the way I'm talking, basically. So I want to maintain a certain level of credibility so that I can help more people, basically. All right, so if you like that crazy video, you can click it in the description. You can watch it. It's unlisted. You can still watch it, you know, whatever. You might like it, you might not. I don't really care. You know, I said my point. And if you wanted to be part of like an advanced group of students or whatever, then you can reach out to me, and we can talk about that if you want to take your practice deeper and to become the best version of yourself. All right, hope you like my video. Gotta go. Bye.